Good morning, YouTube. I've never really made a video this early in the morning, so I thought I'd get out early and show you the place on what seems to be a typical autumn morning. And you get some mist out over the hills, which you can hopefully see in the distance if you're watching this on a big enough screen. And there is a lot of dew on the ground. This is the first 24 hours I've been up here this week that we haven't had any sort of rain. There's been some reasonable rain about, May normally is a fairly wet month and it starts drying up at the end of June. I wouldn't say there's been heavy rain, but the forecast long term is for a wet late autumn and a wet winter, and they're even predicting into spring that it should remain wetter than normal and that the drought inland should break, which is nice. In any case, I thought I'd have a quick discussion on what is the best tasting macadamia nut. And it's something I've done a bit of research into lately because, the Macadamia Society, when they test nuts, every single variety that you get has been tested for taste. It has to taste like a macadamia nut once a variety is released on the market, and customers need to know what to expect. And the old Hawaiian varieties were sort of a starting point. The Australian varieties chimed in, and you've now got a whole variety. And of course, when you buy them on the shelf, no one tells you that you're buying, a 246 or any particular kind of nut. I do remember when I was younger that my concept of a macadamia nut was a bigger mouthful than what most macadamia nuts are today. They seem sometimes almost to be hazelnut sized, and that's a little bit disappointing. I used to think of macadamia nuts as bigger. But that can be a product of the varieties people are growing these days. In any case, the taste testing that was done in the macadamia variety trials hasn't been done in the recent ones. They've been more focused on the keeping quality of macadamias. And to some extent I understand that. But the taste is very important. Obviously, this is why we eat the things. So when they did test them, only the older varieties were available, and they tested three things, really: the flavour, the crunch, and the look. And they grouped them all under the category of sensory perception. And it was interesting to see which ones did well and which ones didn't. The original good-tasting macadamia nut was the 246, and I've just bought some more 246 trees as gap fillers in block 1, but I'm not giving you a video of that because I've given you too many planting videos recently. 246 is a good tasting nut, and it was widely recognised as that. The other mainstay of Queensland and New South Wales, the 344, is okay, not as good. The A16, which became very trendy in the late 90s and early 2000s, is not so good. It's rather bland, a little less crunchy, but a bigger nut. A4 is acceptable, which is another one grown in the 90s and still grown today to some extent. And they go through all the lists, and the regional variety trials at the time did actually measure them up against the other. But the best tasting varieties might surprise those in the industry. The two best tasting ones, only by a little, were the 816 and the 849. These are largely regarded as developments on the 246, more modern versions of that tree. Particularly the 849 is sometimes called the new 246. but it had the best crunch and taste of any macadamia nut that was at the time tested. Now, that leaves open the question of, well, what about the new varieties that are now on the market? What have they been rated as? And I only have anecdotal evidence. The anecdotal evidence is that MCT1 is a nice tasting nut. I only have that on the word of my nurseryman who's tasted them, and he's quite excited by the nice flavour and the large size of the nut of MCT1, and that's what I'm growing in my trial plot. The others, we don't know, and there may be some more work done on taste testing. I don't know quite who does the judging. I don't think they had any celebrities or master chef taste up one nut against the other. It seems to me, though, that it's something that needs to be done, particularly with the new varieties that growers are considering growing. The future of the macadamia industry may depend on some product differentiation, particularly the crop grown in the Northern Rivers itself. The Northern Rivers is the home of the macadamia. You can say it's where the species originated, but more macadamias are grown in South Africa than Australia these days, and many other countries in Africa and Asia with comparable climates are coming online and planting trees. So what's the future for New South Wales and its industry? My argument would be that the larger nuts, the higher quality nuts, are something that could be linked with the New South Wales industry in the same way that champagne is linked with champagne in France. Yes, you can get macadamia nuts from a number of countries through the world, but if you want the really good ones and the really nice big ones, you should come here. Crossing over one of the creeks that leads to my dam. It's flowing reasonably well because of the rain we've been having, but it always does flow. So yeah, and it's kind of nice to know what varieties you do grow when you're purchasing a macadamia farm, and when you do look at ads for them, they'll often say, oh, it grows a range of modern varieties. The vendor should be able to tell you what varieties are on the farm. I got told, but to some extent, really, the information wasn't complete, and I needed my agronomist to come walk through the orchard with me and take a look at trees and go, oh, this one's this one's that. And as a brief update, well, we're trying to get a harvest done, but the rain, well, it keeps getting in the way of picking up this good little crop. And in some places, here's a good example. There is nut absolutely all over the place, just waiting to be vacuumed up by a harvester. And so, yeah, can't wait for that to be done and some test results to come back so that we can work out what sort of quality level is coming through. But anyway, guys, it's the business end of the harvest season. There are plenty of nuts on the ground to be picked up, but in here and in June, because of the varieties I do grow, the Hawaiians really stop their main dropping by about June. You do a final pickup in July, which won't be as big, but you end up hopefully with the bulk of your crop, and you can start thinking about the big things like, what do we do with the crowding of trees? Do we need to prune? Do we need to remove rows? These are all plans I'm developing at the moment with my agronomist. And here we are on the other side of my dam. Water lilies aren't so much in flower this time of year. Plenty of wildlife around. Platypuses are having a good time. And as you can see, reasonably peaceful. Now, in the course of making this video, the mist is largely burned off, so I will head back and start my day's work, planting a few more trees and getting some odd jobs done before the rain starts, which is forecast for later. One of the things about the northern rivers, yes, it's beautifully green, but naturally it rains to get to that state, and so if you like the green, you also have to like the rain. Okay guys, nice to talk to you. Hope to catch you again soon. Bye.